Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. And talking about Casamigos, George Clooney's coming to Broadway, as a matter of fact, to do a play this spring, Good Night and Good Luck, which was the Edward R. Murrow movie. Now, in the movie that was made, he played the producer. Now he's going to play the Murrow role on Broadway starting this spring. So that'll be a big deal. And I guess Robert Downey Jr. is coming to Broadway too. So those are some big stars on their way to Broadway this spring. Now, we're coming to you on the Mike Francesa channel on the Bet Rivers Network on YouTube and talking about new stuff. Um, the folks at Bet Rivers just told me about this yesterday, as a matter of fact. So I just want to bring it to your attention. Um, I haven't even been on there myself yet, but they created the MikeFrancesAPodcast.com. So MikeFrancesAPodcast.com. They created a site where they're gonna have a newsletter. There's gonna be videos. There's gonna be special giveaways. There's gonna be merchandise. So it's MikeFrancesAPodcast.com, and go there and check it out. I have to do the same thing because I haven't been there myself yet. But like I said, there's going to be a way to connect with us. There's going to be giveaways and special things, and they're creating a bunch of Mike Francesa merchandise that they're going to give away. So just check it out. Now, last night we began the week with the win by the Eagles, who had a strange game. First of all, there wasn't a whole lot of passing in this game. Secondly, Elliott couldn't make anything. I mean, he missed two field goals. He missed a 42 yarder. He missed a 51 yarder. He missed an extra point. He just made another extra point. So, that was a problem. Eagles took a long time getting the offense going. Hurts was bad in the first half. And then in the second half, they got the running game going, which figured to be strong. Now, the Eagles have been the best running team in the sport, especially over the last 5 wins. Um, And Washington has been susceptible to the run. In the first half, they did a good job against Barkley. Second half, it broke wide open. Really broke wide open with Barkley out of the game, and then Barkley came in and put two scores up after that. And Washington got a late one. I know people were expecting a lot of passing in this game, and I was surprised because Philly has been running the ball really well. I didn't think that would be the case, and I know people were going crazy because the wide receivers had bad nights. So if you were playing the over on the yardage or playing anything with same game parlays last night, you got burned on the wide receivers. That's for sure because they did not have big games. As a matter of fact, they had really for them bad games. Very little passing. Daniels threw for 190 yards, but mostly to the backs and to them. I mean, Eckler had 90 yards receiving. Um, McLaurin, which I know people were incensed about, caught one pass for 10 yards. He only got targeted twice in the game, and he only caught one pass for 10 yards. He's been huge all year. And even the Eagles, I mean, Brown got 5 for 65. Um, they just didn't throw the ball a whole lot as far as that effectively. I mean, they made a couple of big plays, got it at a couple of big plays. Uh, but Barkley had one big play for 43 yards on a dump off screen. But it really wasn't a big game for passing. It was a game where they ran it. Obviously, Barkley was 26 for 146 and two scores. Hurts had some big runs, especially for first downs in key spots. But it was a whole hum game that the Eagles won. Eagles are off and flying right now in the division. They've opened up a lead. And talking about divisions, you have the Bills already have over a 4 game lead. Kansas City has already a 3.5 game lead. Houston has a big lead. Atlanta has a big lead, and now the Eagles have a comfortable lead in the divisions. Buys this week for the Giants, the Cards, the Panthers, and the Bucks. Bucks have lost 4 in a row, but they really have an easy schedule the rest of the way. They have one tough game. That's the Chargers. Otherwise, they're Rest of their games are easy. They have Carolina twice. They have the Giants. I mean, they could win a lot of games down the stretch. Um, Big game this week, of course, the Chiefs, who are undefeated. Now their kicker's out. He's out a month. He's on the IR. They took the jet kicker, which is another story. Um, but Butker's out for a month, one of the real top kickers in the sport. And they go into Buffalo. Now, Buffalo doesn't need this game, but from a standpoint of who they are and the message they're sending to the league, it would be a big win. I mean, they're going to win their division going away. They've already got it locked up. It's not even Thanksgiving. But it would be a big win. And it would also be a big win against a team that has broken their hearts. So I think from that standpoint, it will be a very raucous Buffalo game there. And expect another close game with those two. What else would you expect? Actually, the Bills are favored, even though the Chiefs are undefeated. The Chiefs should have lost last week, but the field goal got blocked. They haven't been playing great, but they're undefeated. But now they lose the kicker, and the Bills are actually at 8-2, favored in the game by 2 points. Um, so Washington falls, but they're in solid shape. Eagles are in great shape. Um, Colts and Jets. Colts go back to Richardson. I told you, before. It's funny. Flacco said that he's more comfortable starting, but I think he's much better when he doesn't start because if you prepare for Richardson, you're preparing a completely different game plan than you are if you're preparing for Flacco. So when Flacco comes in the game in the second half, you haven't prepared all week for what Flacco's going to give you. He's going to take the ball and throw it down the field. Richardson's going to beat you with his legs. He can throw the ball down the field, but he's not an accurate passer. If I were the Colts, I would start Richardson this week as they are, and I would go to the read option. I would pound Taylor. I would use the read option with Richardson. I'd get out on the edges against the Jets, and the Jets are terrible against the run, and they're terrible at setting edges. I'm telling you, I could see the Colts running for all kinds of yardage on the Jets this week. Um, Colts at 4-6 have had a very brutal schedule. It lightens up a little bit now, and they're still in the hump, but they need a win this week. Jets at 3-7. I know they're thinking about sweeping the table. Listen, they can beat every team that they play, but you know what? They can lose to anybody, and they do have a game in Buffalo. I know they're going to need it a lot more. I think it's in week 16. They need it a lot more than the Bills do, and the Bills will have clinched the division long before that. But the point is, I just don't see the Jets doing anything. As a matter of fact, it almost seems like the Jets are thinking about next year already, and guys are moving on. Um, Now, in that vein, Rodgers did basically declare he wants to play next year. If the Jets are thinking about next year with Rodgers, and I don't know if they are or they're not, but if they are, and I think probably they are, that would change how I'd go about this. It really would. It would change the coach I would hire. I would hire a coach for the short term. I would not hire the young guy and that I'm thinking about who's giving me a plan for the future and it's going to go find me a quarterback and all that stuff. If you're the Jets, you have to find a quarterback. If there's one you like and he's on in the first round, you take him. That's all, and you put him aside and you let him learn. That's fine. You have to find your quarterback of the future. If you like him on the second or third round, even better. If there's a quarterback you like, you take him. You stash him away. But I would treat this really short term. I really would. I would look to the veteran coach. I don't like Mike McCarthy here. I don't. If he gets fired from the Cowboys, which I think he will, I don't like him here. I don't like him here. He's not my guy. There are guys I like. There are veteran guys I like. I tell you right now, I would even consider Pete Carroll. I'm telling you, for short term with Rodgers, I think it's a good match. He could build a defense. I like it. And he wants to coach. I think he's teaching a course at USC now. I think that could work. And you're not looking long term, but you're not looking long term with him anyway. But we'll talk more about that as the year goes on. Um, so Jets and Colts. Giants have the day off, obviously, so they can't lose this week. We gave you the buys. We know what's going on. You know that. Packers and Bears. Bears have just been woeful on offense. They now have rolled heads as far as the offensive coaches go. There was a lot of talk inside the team to bench the quarterback. They're not doing that. A lot of the players thought they should. That's not a good situation when you have the number one pick and people are thinking he's being protected because he's the number one pick and he's not playing well enough to play. That causes problems. Bears have real problems right now, and the Packers don't care. Packers need a win. Jags at the Lions. Lions 8-1 off the big win at Houston, the great comeback. They're 14-point favorites over Jacksonville, which will not have Lawrence at quarterback. Jones will quarterback again. Lawrence has a shoulder problem. As we said, 14-point favorites. Lions have the Colts, the Bears, the Packers, the Bills, the Pats, the Niners, and the Vikings. So the schedule's got some, decent destinations on it the rest of the way. And Minnesota's on their heels, but they have they're clearly the best team in the NFC right now. You're talking about a team that is not great defensively, but is overpowering offensively, with a coach who drives them and drives them and drives them. No one's going to stop their running game. No one's going to stop their offense completely. Why? Because you got a lot of skill and a lot of firepower, a lot of talent at wide receiver, at running back, at tight end, and the best offensive line in the league, led by the best center in the league, and at tackle in Panay Sewell, the best lineman in the league. That's the number one offensive line, and it's not even close. It's the number one offensive line in the league. There's some good offensive lines, but that offensive line is the best. And like I said, when they're at full strength, and they weren't last week, and their left tackle got victimized a little bit, but when at full strength, it's by far the best offensive line in the league. Vikings and Titans. Donald has thrown 5 picks in his last 2 weeks. Sam's got a strong arm. He can make plays. He's got to watch the mistakes, though. He does make a lot of mistakes, and he is turnover prone. They have to watch that. I mean, they're winning. We know what they're doing on defense with Flores and their blitzing and everything else, but they're going to win with their passing game. And he's got to cut down on the mistakes. Raiders at Dolphins. Dolphins think they can get on a run at 3-6. They do have 2 games left with the Jets. They got a big win last week against the Rams. Their offense is going to crank. Hill needs surgery on his wrist, but he's not going to get it. He says he's going to keep playing. They're going to score points when they have 2, and they'll win this week to go to 4-6. Rams at 4-5 need a win this week desperately against the Pats. Pats are dangerous because May can play. Right now, the number 2 quarterback and the number 3 quarterback look a whole lot better than the number 1 quarterback. A lot better. We know what Daniels has done. We know how the attention he's received, how good he was. He wasn't good last night. Last night, he still banged up with the ribs, plus he cut his hand. So I think his throwing was off last night, especially to the wide receivers, which he did very little of last night. But Daniels and May have been much better, obviously, than Williams has been. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Bears going down the stretch. But the Pats feel like they found the quarterback. They like their coach. They got to start to rebuild the team. At 3-7, they haven't had a bad year, and you got to watch it. The Rams have to go in and win this game. They lost the game last week. They shouldn't have lost. Browns 2-7, Saints 3-7. Who cares? Winston to Tillman, watch. They're going to light it up. Those guys. That's what you'll see. Winston's going to throw the ball down the field. He's going to throw the ball down the field to Tillman, and this game could actually put some points up. Ravens and Steelers. the classic matchup. The one thing is, it's changed a little bit this year. This has been your classic. Write it down. 1917, just pick a squad. 2017, just pick a squad. Usually, you don't get a lot of scoring. Usually, you get a tough, physical, nasty game. Now you're going to get a lot more offense. Ravens are not good defensively. They're good offensively. They're real good offensively. Let's see how they match up with the Steelers. Jackson's been sitting out of practice this week. Don't worry, he's playing. Steelers have gotten a lift from Wilson. You got to be fair. Everyone didn't want him to go away from Fields. They went to Wilson, but Wilson has opened up the passing attack. There's no question about that, and made this a different offense. Now, let's see how that works out. The winner of this game is in really good shape and is a dangerous team. Right now, you have Kansas City. You have Buffalo lurking. The winner of this game is the other team in the AFC. I think the Ravens are the team, but they have to get more consistent defensively. This is a big game. Falcons come off a loss. They have a good lead in their division. They're up they're up 2 games, but they're up more than 2 games because the Falcons have already beaten the Bucs twice. 6-4 against the 5-5 Broncos. Broncos trying to see if they can stay above water. The Broncos have started to build a team there. Their offensive line is pretty good. Their defense is pretty good. The quarterback is growing into what he does. He's not a big arm quarterback, but he's growing into what Sean wants him to do. They're a dangerous team. They should have won last week, and if they were 6-4 against Atlanta, 6-4, this game would really be a highlight game. But they should have won last week. They didn't. But they're dangerous now. They really are. Seahawks 4-5 against Niners, 5-4. Niners, it's time for them to take off. Now they should hit the accelerator, get a little healthier. I know they're not going to get 100% healthy, but they should get healthier here, and they should start to take off here. I would expect them. Last week they got pushed by Tampa. They had to come down and get the late field goal. They did. I think they're going to take off right now. Chiefs and Bills, as we said, the unbeaten Chiefs. You're hearing stuff like, "Oh, they're the worst 9-0 team ever." I mean, why even bother writing a stupid article like that, or even bother having a conversation like that? You're 9-0. You're 9-0. Who cares what kind of 9-0 you are? Are they lucky last week? Yeah. So what? So what? You're not going to view them any differently if they're 8-1 versus being 9-0 anyway. They're not going undefeated. Nobody thought they were. You got a good chance of losing this week. Somebody's going to pick them off. But if they don't this week, you know what? They don't have that many tough games on their schedule. They really don't. They have the Chargers again, Carolina, Raiders, Cleveland, Houston. They have to go to Denver, and they have a game at Pitt. So they got Pitt, they got Denver. Those are 2 stops. They got Houston at home. They got a couple of easy games, and they have this week at Buffalo, where that place is going to be crazy. Now, can they match up against the Buffalo offense? Yes. Can Buffalo shut down Kansas City? I think this game is going to be more scoring than you. I don't know what the weather is yet, but let's say the weather's neutral and not crazy, like 40-mile-an-hour wind or rain or snow or something. I think there'll be some scoring in this game. I think they will. I think this game, it won't get up in the high 30s like they used to do, but I think this game will be high 20s or maybe even touch 30. I could see that. Bengals and Chargers got moved to Sunday night. They booted the Jets and Colts out, and that was the right move. Bengals are a hard luck 4-6. Chargers are 6-3. Number 1 team in league in points against, 13 points a game. They're not flashy. The quarterback started to play better. He started to hook up with his new receivers. They have obviously Dobbins at running back. Their defense has played really well. If the Bengals want to stay alive, they have to win this game. Chargers don't have to win it. They're looking wild card, obviously, with the Chiefs being in the division, but they have a very good chance to go to the playoffs with Harbaugh, and just shows you the difference Harbaugh makes. He has started to change the culture already. Instead of losing close games, they win close games. Coaching, coaching, coaching. Texans Monday night against the Cowboys. What's left to say about the Cowboys? They're 3-6, 18 injured players. All right, listen, you don't want to make no one wants to make excuses for the Cowboys, but they have been decimated by injuries. Were they going to be great this year anyway? No, but I mean they have been decimated. Then you have all the issues this week. What was at the locker room? What's going on with Parsons? Who wants to coach back? Who doesn't want to coach back? Is Belichick going there? Blah blah blah. They're a mess right now. When they get to their Thanksgiving game, okay, the talk is going to be all about who's going there. That's it. It's the only talk you're going to care about. No one cares about the rest of the season. They're 3-6. It doesn't matter how many games they win. The question is Belichick going to the Cowboys? That's really the question that everyone wants to answer. He can go to Jacksonville. I'm sure there's going to be a couple other spots open up. He's not going to the Jets, folks. Okay, and the Giants aren't changing their coach. It's Dallas. I think it's Dallas or Jacksonville. Which one? I know there's been talk about Philly, but Philly's 8-2 right now. I know there's issues there, but I don't see them unless they have a catastrophic collapse. I do not see them changing things there. So I think you're looking at Dallas and Jacksonville. Jacksonville, if you want total control, a ton of money, and do it all over behind a young quarterback who's, I think, a good player when he's healthy in Trevor Lawrence. I think he'll be a fine player. That's there for Belichick. He's good. He has a relationship with the owner's son, with Shaw's son. It's an owner who's incredibly wealthy, who doesn't interfere, and it's Florida, but it's not one of the real juicy franchises. Or you can go and take center stage and be the man with the star, and following the legendary figures who have walked the sideline before you in Dallas, including Landry and Parcells. I don't think McCarthy will be back. I know Jerry Jones likes him. I know Dak likes him. I don't think he'll be back. I don't know whether Belichick will go there or not. He will not get control of that franchise, and he knows that. He will not be in charge of personnel. He will not be the general manager. He'll be the coach. But it's the Cowboys. Belichick and the Cowboys will obviously be a big deal. They'll play him handsomely. They just won't give him total. They're not giving anybody control. He has a good relationship with Stephen Jones. He's got a good relationship with Jerry Jones. He has a very good relationship with Stephen Jones. Everybody in the league has a good relationship with Stephen Jones. He's probably one of the more popular people in the league. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where he's going to go. I'm sure there'll be another team or two in the mix by the end of the season. But right now, I mean, the Raiders are a possibility. They could be open. Obviously, the Saints are open. But I think it's most likely Jacksonville. I think it's Jacksonville if you want the long term and total control, or it's the Cowboys. And we'll see where that takes us. All right. Let me get to a couple of things here. Number one, I got to tell you about the squares, which I always do, but let me get to that right now and tell you about it as I page through here. Here we go. Now, players can place their same game parlays on college football and the NFL to earn squares. The exclusive squares game offers additional chances at profit boosts, bonus bets, and $10,000 jackpots. So bet a same game parlay. You get a square. You know how the squares work, just like the Super Bowl box, 90909. And if you hit, who knows, maybe $10,000 in bonus money. So we can't beat that. Play the spares game, play college football, same game parlays, play NFL, same game parlays, which I know you all do anyway. All right, emails, MikeFrancesa at gmail.com. And remember, as I told you before, they now have the MikeFrancesa podcast.com, which is a site you can go to for all different stuff. A way to connect with us, see different stuff, get some goodies, some freebies, some giveaways, whatever. Check it out. All right. Sean starts us off. Are you surprised about the rumors that NFL teams might want to hire Gruden? All right. Gruden just made a deal with Barstool. He's working for Barstool now. But everyone knows he wants to coach again. I don't know where he is in his problems with the commissioner. I know they hate each other, but I mean, I don't know where he is from a standpoint of coming back into the league. Would he be, when an owner calls up the NFL office and says, "Am I allowed to talk to Gruden?" Do they say, "Oh yeah, be my guest," or we'd rather you don't? I don't know which way it goes. I just don't know. Is Gruden a good coach? Yes. Is he, as good as he thinks he is? No. Uh, he's going to want a lot of say and a lot of money. He's not an automatic. And here's the amazing thing about retreads or about proven winners. We are still waiting for a coach who has won a Super Bowl to go to another team and win a Super Bowl. Now, we had guys lose a Super Bowl, Don Shula, Dick Vermeil, lose a Super Bowl, and then go to another team and win Super Bowls. That's been done. We have not had any Super Bowl winning coach go to another team, and you're paying those guys, whether it's Jimmy Johnson, Joe Gibbs, Bill Parcells, Mike Holmgren, etc. You're paying them to win a Super Bowl. Parcells did a great, he built teams everywhere he went. He went to the Jets, they were 1-15. He had them in the AFC title game in 2 years. Still a game that bothers me to this day, 23-10 Denver. All right. I opened my big mouth at 10-0 and said to my wife, who we were sitting in Denver on a kind of cold, blustery day, and Denver fans were just awful. They were nasty as heck. And if you remember, Minnesota played Atlanta in the first game that day, and Minnesota was 15-1, and they were a juggernaut, and they got upset by the Dirty Birds, Dan Reeves. So Atlanta's in the Super Bowl. The Jets are going to kill Atlanta. I know that. Denver went on to kill Atlanta. So I'm like, this is unbelievable. Now the Jets block the punt. They go up 10-0, and I turned around and say, won the Super Bowl, meaning, the team I'm rooting for at the time, and Bill and stuff, and going to the Super Bowl at 10-0. I got the words out of my mouth, and They have done nothing, Denver. It's 10-0. They have done nothing. Jets haven't done much either. They blocked the punt, got a touchdown. Elway runs a half waggle, hits it for like 54 yards down the field into the wind. They score a touchdown. The place goes crazy. I mean, insane. They didn't score on that play, but they score right after that. Then the most short-handed, dependable guys that Bill ever had, Meggett, Byers, down the line, every one of them starts dropping the football, fumbling the football, dropping the ball. Mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. And I'm leaving the building at 23-10 Denver. Oh, I wish I could have taken those words back. Not that it affected the game, but you think the stupid things like that. But I remember that so well. But that was Bill's chance to win a Super Bowl. Now, he did go to a Super Bowl with New England and got beat by Brett Favre and by Desmond Howard. Where all week, all they said was, we're not kicking the ball down the middle of Desmond Howard at all. Kicked the ball down the middle of Desmond Howard after they had a long touchdown drive. They're now back in the game, only down touchdown, and Desmond Howard returns it for a touchdown, and that was the end of that. I think it was 31-17 the final. He lost in the Super Bowl with New England. He didn't get Jets out of the AFC title game. He didn't win a Super Bowl in Dallas. Go down the list. Holmgren, who should have won a Super Bowl in Seattle, he got screwed. Pittsburgh won that game. Worst officiated Super Bowl of all time. They screwed Seattle unbelievably in that game. I mean, you know how bad the officiating is now, and the officiating in this league right now is so bad. If they miss another face mask, I tell you, they have missed. I could put together a litany. I could put together a video of about 8 face masks they have missed in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, the officiating is so poor. How about that Neighbors play where it bounced 5 feet in front of them and they called it a completed pass? I mean, the officiating stinks so badly. But that Super Bowl was the worst officiated game. Otherwise, Holmgren might have a Super Bowl. He didn't win one in Seattle. But the point is, if you go and get a coach, is he a Super Bowl? You're paying those guys to win another Super Bowl. No one has ever done it. You're still waiting for the first guy to do it. Some have taken them there, but nobody has won one. So when you get Gruden or you get Belichick or you hire any of those guys who've won Super Bowls, do they get there and win another one? No one's ever done it. So back to your question, Sean, which was about Gruden. I don't know where he stands right now. My gut feeling would be he'd be allowed to come back in the league. Matt, does Victor would, now this is a basketball question, have a chance to go down as one of the greatest basketball players ever? It's a little early for that. I know Wemby had a 50-point game. We are looking at a guy who, for his size, does incredible things. I mean, including shooting threes. A lot of people think he might be, but before you can be considered one of the greatest players of all time, you have to do it forever. You're talking about stacking 12 or 14 great years together. Then talk about it. Can't talk about it when he's a kid. First, stay healthy. And remember, when I was there, I think it was, I think whatever year it was, I got so much grief when I told you that the big guy down in New Orleans was going to struggle and was going to have a tremendous problem staying healthy in his career. There were people telling you that he was the best player since Jordan. He would be he was an unstoppable force who would be one of the great players ever. And All I said was, listen, I'm not saying that Williamson doesn't have talent. He has talent. There are a lot of guys who can put up 20 and 10, though. But when you are a guy who is a big body like that in college, you don't get smaller, you get bigger in the pros. And I knew his conditioning and his weight was going to be a massive problem for him. And it has been. He's never, ever healthy. And now he's out again for how long? The guy never plays. I mean, he never plays. He played 24 games. And then in 2022, he played 29 games. Last year, he actually did play 70 games, which is amazing. 22 points and 8 rebounds. It's a solid year. Not all world. Does he have ability? Yes, he can pass. He can score. He's got talent. But I never thought he was going to be what everyone thought he was going to be. I never thought he was going to be this all-time great because I thought his conditioning was going to cause him all kinds of trouble. And it's not going to get better as he keeps getting older. It's going to get worse. And he's always hurt, and he's hurt again. But does Wemby have a chance? Yes. He has a chance to be special. He's unique at that size. But, before you can even discuss it, you got to play for so long that's not even worth discussing right now. Does he have a chance to be special? Yes, no question. What are your expectations for Patino and St. John's? I think they're going to be better than people think. I think by the end of the season. Now I should really hold off this, okay? Because I know how good the backcourt should be when you give it time. But I have to look at the rest of the team first. But let me say this. I think they will absolutely be a tournament team. I think they will be a team that will be ranked nationally in the top 25. That's not saying that much. How much past that? Let me see them in person. Let me see them a little bit more because I want to see all the other guys. I know the backcourt players. I want to see the other players. Okay, and then I'll get a better feel. But I do think it's definitely a tournament team. Listen, they should have been a tournament team last year. They should have been in the NCAA tournament. As a matter of fact, they played a better game against UConn in the Big East that they lost because I was there than anybody else played in the NCAA tournament against UConn. Cal, can you explain why Vrabel is so sought after? It's a good question. I understand it because he comes from a winning pedigree as a player. He comes from a winning background. He got off to a terrific start in Tennessee. He wasn't as good late. He does have a winning record. But is he automatic? He is not. So from that standpoint, Cal, I understand your question. It's a fair one. He should not be linked with guys who are considered to be no-brainers. He's good. He's not great. He's good. He's solid. I think you can always bring him in and have a solid team. But is he automatic some magical guy who's going to make you a winner overnight? No. If Lamar wins a third MVP this season, do you think he's a Hall of Famer? Listen, I think he's headed towards the Hall of Fame. What I want to see him do is I want to see him play better in the playoffs. I don't care about MVPs. I want to see him play better in the playoffs. He has magical regular season games. I want to see him play better in the playoffs. Luke, would you be open to Deion Sanders as your head coach and Sanders, Deion, and his son with the Jets next year? I do not think that's going to happen. And would I be open to the two of them as a tandem? I'm not against. I think Deion's probably going to get a chance to coach in the NFL. It wouldn't be my choice. He would not be my choice. Now, do I think he's going to get a chance? Yes. Do I think his son's going to be a first round pick? Absolutely. How high? It depends on a lot of things, especially how high he moves up based on a lot of things that we haven't seen yet, especially the rest of the season as one. David, what are your thoughts on Dave Sims replacing John Sterling? Um, I was privy to this a while ago. I knew the couple of people who were in competition. Uh, I think Dave has got a reputation. Listen, we know Dave very well. I know Dave for a very long time. I knew him when he was a sports writer before he ever went into broadcasting. He used to have a talk show on NBC. I went on Dave's talk show in the 80s, even before the fans started. He had a talk show. I went on a date with Dave. Dave had one. Richard Nia had one. Okay, and of course, Art Rush Jr. and go back to Bill Mazer and everything else, but Jack Spector. But John Sterling had a talk show on MCA way back when I was in grammar school. Think about it. I listened to John Sterling in grammar school. I remember listening to John Sterling every night when I was in grammar school, when he was on WMCA. La Vergalante. That was his commercial that he used to do all the time. Marilyn and Michelle. I still remember it to this day. I never went to the place. I don't even know the people, but I know the commercial. La Vergalante. You know how he is. All right. So I remember the commercial. It's ingrained in my head. All right. So I grew up listening to Sterling. I think Dave's worked at his craft. He's done college football. He's done college basketball. He's done NFL. He's done a lot of play-by-play. He's been with the Mariners forever. He and Eddie, the Coal Man and the Soul Man, did a show together on Fan when we were in the afternoon. They were on midday we had a lot of midday shows. They were one of them. So I go way back with Dave. I know Susan has a relationship with Dave and his family. So I think she'll be thrilled to have him. So I think he's a very solid choice. Now, I know people are like, hey, 70 years old. So what? People can work now till they're older. You know what? I'm 70 years old. Dave's 71 years old. You know what? Knock on wood. Everyone does well. Just stay healthy. That's the most important thing. It's really the most important thing. But you know what? He'll be fine. He'll do a very solid job. He's become a very solid. I can't say I've heard him do the Mariners a lot because I haven't, but I've heard Dave do games a million times, and he's a very solid nuts and bolts broadcaster. And he and Susan will work very well together. So it's from that standpoint. It's a guy who knows New York. It's a guy who's really coming home. He knows what the Yankees are about. He knows what the city is about, and from that standpoint, it'll be he'll be a very comfortable listen and a very easy transition. So wish him well. Is the Daniel Jones contract the worst contract in New York Giants football history? I don't think it's that terrible. It's not the end of the world. They can get out of it. Listen, I expect them to make a quarterback change. If they don't make it the next game, it will be very soon. I would not be surprised if they make it this coming Tuesday. I think they have salted the ground for the move. And I think they're ready to make the move away from Jones and then go out and draft a quarterback next year, which they clearly are going to do. I don't think there's any question in the world that Daniel Jones's career is coming to an end with the Giants. I think that's 100%, and I would be surprised if he's starting next week against Tampa. I would think he's probably going to the bench. Hasn't been announced yet, but I would expect that to be the case. I I wouldn't call it a foregone conclusion, but I think it's coming. Um, he's not. Listen, he knows the organization's not behind him anymore. He knows these guys. He knows his coach doesn't want him. He knows his coach doesn't believe in him. Just go look at the head coach. Go look at Dable's reaction to the flea flicker. Just go look at his reaction to the flea flicker. That's all you got to look at. That's it. And when these plays, specific plays, hit social media that give you and point out certain things, so they're pointing them out to the public, certain things that the public might not readily see. So you're talking about someone who knows football and is on a is on a fairly decent level, is leaking this stuff to make Jones look bad. Like I said, I think that the ground is being prepared for him to go to the bench. And I think we all know his future is he's not the future of the Giants. Douglas, if the Mets fail to land Juan Soto, does the Steve Cohen hype / money really mean nothing, since clearly they have the most money to offer? Hey, if you offer the most money and the guy turns you down, like Yamamoto did, okay, what else can you do? I mean, he didn't want to come to he didn't believe in the Mets, and he also wanted LA, so he went to LA. I think that it's pretty obvious that the Mets are not going to be outbid for Soto. I think we've all realized that their offer will be the sweetest. I would think if that's the case, and there's already been rumors of a 12 or 13-year, $702 million offer. I don't know if it's legitimate or not. I have no idea. I don't even know if there's any deferred money there. Remember, a lot of the money is deferred with Ohtani. There's been talk of a 7. Now, if it was 702, $702 million, $702 million divided by 13 is $54 million a year. $54.7 million a year. Now, the highest AVR, I think, is 45 right now. So that would be surpassing it by quite a margin. I have heard 13. I've heard 12 702. I've heard 13 702. If he's upwards of 50 million a year for his career, okay, if he's up there, I mean, that's all you can do. I mean, you can't. You can't make them come to the team, but I mean, that's all you can do is make the biggest offer, and that would be the biggest offer, I think, by a lot. I think if they go 50 million plus a year and they make that contract over 12 million, over 10 years. So it's over 10 years and the average salary is over 50 million a year. Now, I don't know what else he wants, but he also would be sanitized. I think that Cohn understands that this is what he promised his fan base, that he would perform like this. And this one will have incredible lasting effects because it will blow the Yankees out of the water. It will really damage who the Yankees are, because the Yankees don't look like they're going to even be. They might not even be players at that level. And I thought the Yankees would be players up to a certain level. I don't know what the level is. I've heard people say it's 600 they're getting out. I don't know what's true and what's not true in that regard. I think the Yankees understand that this is a rare choice. This is a proven commodity who's 26 years old, who you can give a 10-plus year contract to and not worry about, who's going to give you production. He has produced, and he is probably the surest thing there is as an offensive player. He is the surest thing I've seen. He does not have bad at bats. He does not have weaknesses at the plate. He is not a great fielder. He's average at best. Yankee Stadium's actually a tricky outfield, but he's average at best. His future is probably going to be as a DH somewhere down the line. But you're talking about an offensive player without a weakness. He will hit close to 300. He will hit between 30 and 40 homers. He will have an on-base percentage between 4 and 425. He will have an OPS to be 950 plus. He will do all those things. He's a given. He's the surest thing you can have, and he's 26 years old, and he's already a proven winner. He's won a World Series. He's performed well in the postseason again. He's been to another World Series. I, like everyone else, I don't see him going to Toronto. I don't see him going to the Red Sox. And I don't think the Yankees, I don't know that they have an appetite where the Mets are headed. And I think if it's an extra 50 or 100 million, I don't think he will be denied. And he is an incredibly wealthy man. And I think what at that point, see, this is the Picasso. This is the one. This is the piece that you don't not bring home. What you asked is true. If Cone is going to be what the Met fan thought he was always going to be, he has to land this player. He cannot be denied. Soto's in the best position that anybody has ever been in because I do not think Cone will be denied for this player. The words were full blast. I don't think anybody else will be able to I don't think there'll be a better offer anywhere. And I don't think he'll be denied no matter what it takes. Now, I'm not saying he won't pass up paying another player that he might have wanted, and he might have some kind of budget in his own head, but it will not be on this player where he scrimps. And I think he's headed north of 50 million a year for this player. Knowing that, I think he's fine with that. And I think he understands what this does. And this will rock the city. And it will change the Yankee Met relationship forever. Ownership, on the ownership level, they have always been very agreeable. George was always very considerate to the Mets and to ownership. He always was. He got along well with Fred. He was considerate of Fred's feelings. Fred was considerate of his feelings. There was no issues there. This will be one that has a lasting effect. I do not think he will be denied. I will be stunned if he's denied. And I think there's pressure on him now, probably more than he even realized, to land the player. And Boris knows that. He's going to play it for all it's worth. And if he can get another player, whether it's the Yankees or the Red Sox or Toronto, to stay in where the air is rarefied and stay in there, well, then this number could get stupid. But I don't see anybody else taking the pot home. I think this is the one that he will not be outbid on, and nobody has deeper pockets. He knows that, number one, He's not going to lose on this player. He's never going. No one's going to turn around to him and say, "Boy, what a dumb move it was buying Soto." No one's ever going to say that. He is as he is as foolproof as any player you could ever put in this spot. He's not a pitcher where you have to worry about his arm. He is a guy who is going to produce, and he's 26 years old. He's not going to hit 220. It's never going to happen. And that's why this is the one. And the Yankees will turn around and sign Alonso or sign a couple of big players, get a big first baseman, get a big pitcher. They'll get some players, but it will be a deep wound. And if he's in town, it will be a wound that won't heal. And it will change their relationship, I think, dramatically. But what you asked is true. If Cone is Cone, if Cone is going to be what he promised the Met fans, then he cannot miss out on this player. And I don't think he will. This is not one where he doesn't want New York. He knows he wants New York. This is not a guy who, Otani and the pitcher, they wanted to play in LA. Everyone knows it. Soto doesn't want to play in LA. He wants to play in New York. It's a Yankee Met thing. I know you hear the Red Sox in Toronto, but this is a Yankee Met thing. I think that's only dollars and cents to jack up the price. Boris just wants the Mets to pay and pay and pay and pay. And this is the piece of art that no one can outbid him for. That's what it comes down to. See you later.